What would you do if two tiny babies refused to eat, refused to sleep, and cried every single day because they missed someone who could never come back? If you're enjoying the story, please like, share, and subscribe. We'd love to know where you're watching from, because we absolutely love hearing from you. Adrian Cole stood by the tall window of his mansion, watching rain slide down the glass like tears. His house was bigger than 10 normal houses put together. It had marble floors so shiny you could see your face in them. Crystal lights hung from the ceiling like frozen waterfalls. Everything was perfect and beautiful and cold, but none of it mattered anymore. 6 months ago, his wife Elena had died. She had been sick for a long time, and even though Adrian had all the money in the world, he could not save her. Now she was gone, and their twin boys, Lucas and Liam, were only 1 year old. They would never remember their mother's face or her voice or the way she sang to them at night. Adrian tried his best. He ran his big company during the day, making deals and signing papers. At night, he came home to his boys. But every night was the same terrible story. The babies cried. They cried and cried and cried until their faces turned red and their voices went scratchy. Adrian hired the best nannies money could buy. He brought in women who had taken care of royal babies and celebrity children. He offered them twice the normal pay, 3 times for times. Nothing worked. The first nanny, Mrs. Pemberton, had 30 years of experience. She wore a crisp uniform and carried herself like a queen. She prepared the bottles perfectly, warmed to exactly the right temperature. She held Lucas gently and brought the bottle to his tiny lips. He turned his head away and screamed. She tried with Liam. Same thing. The baby pushed the bottle with his small hands and wailed like his heart was breaking. Mrs. Pemberton lasted 3 days before she quit. "I have never seen anything like this," she told Adrian, looking exhausted and confused. "These boys don't want anyone. They're looking for someone who isn't here." The second nanny tried songs. The third tried special milk. The fourth brought toys that cost more than a car. Nothing worked. The twins refused every single person. They would not drink their milk. They would barely sleep. Their little bodies grew thinner, and Adrian felt panic rising his chest like cold water. The doctors came. They checked the boys over and over. "Nothing is wrong with their bodies," the doctors said, "but their hearts are broken. They're grieving. They miss their mother." Adrian felt like he was drowning. How do you explain death to babies? How do you make them understand that Mama is never coming back? The mansion, which had once been filled with Elena's laughter and music, became silent except for crying. The staff walked on tiptoes. Everyone whispered. The whole house felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for something to break. Then one Tuesday afternoon, something strange happened. Naomi was working in the laundry room in the basement. She was a small woman with kind eyes and rough hands from years of washing clothes. She had worked at the Cole mansion for 2 years, but most people barely noticed her. She was quiet. She did her job. She never complained. That day, one of the nannies brought the twins downstairs while looking for fresh blankets. Both boys were crying again, their faces wet with tears. The nanny looked tired and frustrated. Naomi looked up from folding towels. Without thinking, she reached out her arms. "May I?" she asked softly. The nanny, desperate for any help, handed Lucas to Naomi. Something magical happened. Lucas stopped crying. His little body relaxed against Naomi's chest. His breathing slowed down. He looked up at her face with his big brown eyes, and for the first time in months, he seemed peaceful. The nanny's mouth fell open. "How did you do that?" Naomi smiled and gently rocked Lucas. She hummed a simple tune, nothing fancy, just a gentle melody. Then she took Liam too. Both twins curled against her, like she was the safest place in the world. "Sometimes babies just need to feel love," Naomi said quietly. "Not fancy things, just love." Word spread to the mansion like wildfire. The maid from the laundry room could calm the twins when no one else could. Adrian heard about it and came downstairs himself. He stood in the doorway and watched Naomi feed his sons. They drank their bottles. They actually drank. Relief flooded through him like warm light. "Can you help with them?" Adrian asked. "Please. I'll pay you anything." Naomi looked at the babies in her arms. I don't need more money, Mr. Cole. I just want to help these little ones feel safe again. From that day on, Naomi spent more time with Lucas and Liam. She would finish her laundry work quickly, then go upstairs to the nursery. The twins' faces would light up when they saw her. They would reach their tiny arms toward her. With Naomi, they ate. With Naomi, they slept. With Naomi, they smiled. The mansion began to breathe again. But not everyone was happy about it. In the kitchen, two other maids whispered to each other. Who does she think she is? One said. She's just a laundry maid. Why should she get special treatment? I saw her coming out of Mr. Cole's study yesterday. Another whispered. What was she doing up there? The whispers grew. Someone saw Naomi near the safe room. Someone else noticed that Mr. Cole smiled when Naomi was around. The first real smile since Elena died. Jealousy is like poison. It spreads slowly, quietly, until everything is infected. One morning, the head housekeeper found a pair of expensive gold cufflinks in Naomi's cleaning bucket. They belonged to Mr. Cole. They had been sitting on his dresser. Why are these in your bucket? The housekeeper demanded, holding them up. Naomi's face went pale. I don't know. I didn't take them. I would never. But the housekeeper's eyes were cold. We'll see what Mr. Cole has to say about this. The whispers became accusations. The accusations became rumors. And rumors, once started, are almost impossible to stop. The cufflinks sat on Adrian's desk like tiny weapons. Gold and shining, they caught the afternoon light. The head housekeeper, Mrs. Clark, stood with her arms crossed, her face hard as stone. I found them in her cleaning bucket, sir, Mrs. Clark said, hidden under the dirty rags. Adrian picked up the cufflinks. They were the ones Elena had given him on their last anniversary, together. He remembered her smile when she presented the small box. So you'll always look sharp, she had said, touching his face gently. His chest tightened with old pain. There must be a mistake, Adrian said, but his voice sounded uncertain even to himself. Sir, with respect, this isn't the first strange thing, Mrs. Clark continued. Naomi has been seen near your private study 3 times. She was spotted coming out of the safe room last week, and some of the staff have reported small items going missing. A silver pen, a watch, little things. Adrian felt anger rising inside him like hot smoke. He had trusted Naomi. He had let her into his home, into his children's lives. The twins loved her. He had started to depend on her. Was it all a lie? Bring her to me, Adrian said, his voice cold. 5 minutes later, Naomi stood in front of his desk. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were wide with fear, but also with something else. Hurt. Deep, terrible hurt. Did you take these? Adrian held up the cufflinks. No, sir. I promise you, I never touched them. I don't know how they got in my bucket. They didn't just walk there by themselves. Adrian snapped. His grief and exhaustion were turning into rage. He needed someone to blame for all the pain. You've been in places you shouldn't be. My study. The safe room. What were you looking for, Naomi? What else have you taken? Tears filled Naomi's eyes. Mr. Cole, I swear on everything I love, I never took anything. I only went to those rooms because I was cleaning. Mrs. Clark herself assigned me to dust the study that day, and the safe room door was open when I walked past. I only looked inside for a second because I heard a noise. I thought maybe one of the cats was stuck in there. Lies, Mrs. Clark said sharply. I never assigned you to the study. That's not your area. Naomi turned to her, confused. But you did. You gave me the list yourself last Tuesday. I did no such thing. Adrian watched them argue, his head pounding. He didn't know what to believe anymore. Everything felt wrong. Elena was gone. His house felt like a prison. His sons cried unless Naomi was there. And now this woman, this person he had started to trust, might be stealing from him. I want you out, Adrian said quietly. The room went silent. What? Naomi whispered. Pack your things. I want you out of this house today. Now. But the boys. Naomi's voice broke. Please, Mr. Cole, think about Lucas and Liam. What they need is someone trustworthy. Adrian shouted, and his voice echoed off the walls. "I will not have a thief near my children. Get out!" Naomi's face crumpled. Tears ran down her cheeks. She looked at Adrian like he had struck her. Then, without another word, she turned and walked out of the room. Within an hour, Naomi was gone. She left through the back door, carrying a small bag with her few belongings. Some of the staff watched her go. A few looked sad. Others looked satisfied, like they had won something. That night, the twins screamed. They screamed for hours. Adrian tried to hold them, but they pushed him away. He hired another new nanny, a stern woman named Miss Hoffman. She tried everything: songs, toys, warm milk, special blankets. Nothing worked. Lucas cried until he threw up. Liam cried until his voice went hoarse and rough. They looked around the nursery with desperate eyes, searching for the face they wanted to see. Days passed, then weeks, then months. The twins stopped crying so much, but that was worse. They became quiet, too quiet. They barely ate. They stared at nothing with empty eyes. The doctors came again and gave them vitamins and special formulas, but medicine cannot heal a broken heart. Lucas and Liam were fading like flowers without water. Adrian watched his sons disappear a little more each day. He held them at night and felt how light they had become, how fragile. Fear ate at him constantly. What if he lost them too? What if his anger and pride cost him his children? He barely slept. He couldn't focus at work. His business partners noticed. His friends noticed. Everyone could see that Adrian Cole was falling apart. One evening, Gregory, the head butler, knocked on Adrian's study door. Gregory was an old man who had worked for the Cole family for 30 years. He had silver hair and honest eyes. He rarely spoke unless he had something important to say. "Sir, may I speak with you?" Adrian looked up from his desk, exhausted. "What is it, Gregory?" The old butler stepped inside and closed the door. He looked uncomfortable, like he was carrying heavy stones. "Sir, I need to tell you something. About Naomi." Adrian's jaw tightened. "I don't want to hear that name." "You need to, sir, because she didn't steal anything." The room went very still. "What are you talking about?" Adrian asked slowly. Gregory took a deep breath. "I've been watching, listening. Something didn't feel right about how everything happened, so I paid attention." He pulled out a small notebook from his pocket. "Mrs. Clark gave Naomi that cleaning assignment for your study. I saw the list myself. And those cufflinks? I saw Alice, one of the junior maids, take them from your dresser. She put them in Naomi's bucket when Naomi wasn't looking." Adrian stood up, his heart pounding. Why would she do that? "Jealousy, sir. Alice wanted Naomi's position with the twins. She thought if Naomi was gone, you might promote her instead. Mrs. Clark knew about it. She helped because she never liked that a laundry maid was spending time upstairs. She thought it wasn't proper." The words hit Adrian like a punch to the stomach. He gripped the edge of his desk. "Are you certain?" "I have proof, sir. I recorded a conversation between Alice and Mrs. Clark. They were bragging about it in the kitchen, thinking no one could hear. Would you like to listen?" Adrian's hands started shaking. Not from anger this time. From horror. From terrible, crushing guilt. "I threw her out," he whispered. "I didn't even listen to her. I just threw her out." "Yes, sir. And my boys, they're dying without her. They're disappearing right in front of me, and it's my fault." Gregory's voice was gentle. "Then fix it, sir. Find her. Bring her back. Apologize. Make it right while you still can." Adrian looked out the window at the dark sky. Somewhere out there was Naomi, the woman who had loved his children when no one else could. The woman he had accused and humiliated and thrown away like garbage. Could she ever forgive him? Did he even deserve a second chance? But as he thought about Lucas and Liam lying in their cribs, quiet and fading, Adrian knew he had to try. Not for himself. For them. "Find her," Adrian said urgently. "Gregory, find Naomi. Use every resource we have. Hire investigators if you need to. I don't care what it costs. Just find her and bring her back." "Yes, sir. Right away." As Gregory hurried out, Adrian walked upstairs to the nursery. He stood over his son's cribs and watched them sleep. They looked so small, so fragile, like they might disappear completely if he looked away. "Hold on," he whispered to them. "Please, hold on just a little longer. I'm going to make this right. I promise." But promises, Adrian was learning, are easy to make and hard to keep. It took Gregory 3 days to find Naomi. She was living in a tiny apartment across the city, in a neighborhood where the buildings were old and the paint was peeling. She had found work at a laundromat, washing other people's clothes for minimum wage. The apartment had one room, a small kitchen, and a window that looked out at a brick wall. But Naomi didn't complain. She never complained. When Gregory knocked on her door, she opened it and her face went pale. "Mr. Gregory," she whispered. "Miss Naomi, may I come in?" She stepped aside, her hands trembling. Gregory had never been to such a small place before, but he didn't show any judgment on his face. He sat on her worn couch and told her everything. About Alice and Mrs. Clark. About the lies. About how they had set her up because of jealousy. Naomi listened with tears streaming down her face. "Mr. Cole knows the truth now," Gregory said gently. "He's devastated. He wants you to come back." "And the boys?" Naomi asked, her voice breaking. "How are Lucas and Liam?" Gregory's face grew sad. "They're not well, Miss Naomi. They've stopped eating properly. They've grown so thin and quiet. The doctors say there's nothing physically wrong, but we all know what they need. They need you." Naomi covered her face with her hands and sobbed. All these months, she had thought about the twins every single day. She had cried herself to sleep, wondering if they were okay, if they remembered her, if they felt abandoned. "Will you come back?" Gregory asked. "Please, those boys need you." And I think Mr. Cole has learned a very painful lesson about trust and judgment. Naomi looked around her tiny apartment. Then she thought about 2 little boys with sad eyes who had once smiled at her like she was their whole world. "Yes," she said, "I'll come back. Not for Mr. Cole. For Lucas and Liam." The next morning, a black car pulled up to the Cole mansion. Naomi stepped out wearing her simple dress, carrying the same small bag she had left with. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might break through her chest. Adrian met her at the door. He looked terrible. His eyes had dark circles under them. His face was pale and tired. When he saw Naomi, he stopped and just stared at her for a long moment. "I'm sorry," he said, and his voice cracked. "I'm so sorry, Naomi. I didn't listen. I didn't trust you. I let my grief and fear turn me into someone cruel. I threw away the one person who truly cared about my sons. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking for it anyway. Please." Naomi looked at this powerful man, this billionaire who owned companies and buildings and more money than she could imagine. He was begging her, actually begging. "Where are the boys?" she asked quietly. "Upstairs, in the nursery." Naomi walked past him and climbed the grand staircase. Her legs felt shaky. What if the twins didn't remember her? What if they had forgotten? What if she was too late? She pushed open the nursery door. Lucas and Liam were in their cribs. They looked so small and thin. Their faces were pale. They lay there quietly, staring at nothing, like little ghosts of the babies she remembered. Naomi's heart broke into a million pieces. "Lucas," she called softly. "Liam, my sweet boys." At the sound of her voice, both twins' heads turned. Their eyes went wide. For one frozen second, nobody moved. Then Lucas started crying. But these weren't sad cries. These were happy cries. He reached his little arms up toward Naomi and made urgent sounds, like he was saying, "You came back. You came back." Liam started crying too, the same way. Both boys were reaching for her, their faces full of hope and joy and desperate need. Naomi rushed to them and scooped them both into her arms. She held them tight, cried herself, kissing their foreheads, rocking them gently. "I'm here," she whispered. "I'm here, my darlings. I'm so sorry I left. I'm here now. I'm here." The twins clutched at her clothes like they would never let go. They buried their faces against her neck. Their little bodies relaxed for the first time in months. Adrian stood in the doorway, watching, Tears ran down his face. He had never seen anything so beautiful and so heartbreaking at the same time. Over the next few weeks, the mansion transformed. Lucas and Liam started eating again. Their cheeks filled out. Color came back to their faces. They laughed. They played. They followed Naomi everywhere like little ducklings following their mother. Naomi moved into a proper room on the second floor near the nursery. Adrian insisted. "You're not a laundry maid anymore," he told her. "You're family." Alice and Mrs. Clark were fired immediately. They left in disgrace, and nobody missed them. The other staff members warmed to Naomi quickly. They saw how happy the twins were. They saw how the whole mansion felt lighter, brighter, like someone had opened all the windows and let fresh air in. One evening, Adrian asked Naomi to meet him in the garden. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. The twins were napping peacefully upstairs. "Naomi," Adrian began, "I've been thinking about the future, about what's best for Lucas and Liam, about what they need." Naomi waited, her hands folded. "They need you," Adrian said simply. "Not as an employee, as family. I want to make this official. I want you to be their legal guardian alongside me. I want you to have all the rights and protections that a mother would have, because that's what you are to them. That's what you've always been." Naomi's eyes filled with tears again. "Mr. Cole." "Adrian," he corrected gently. "Please, just Adrian." "Adrian," she said, tasting the name. "I never wanted anything except to love them. I don't need papers or rights or... But I need you to have them," Adrian interrupted. "I need to know that if anything happens to me, you'll be there for them. I need to know they're protected, that you're protected. Please, Naomi, let me do this one thing right." Naomi looked at this man who had once thrown her out, who had learned such a hard lesson about judgment and trust. He had changed. Grief had nearly destroyed him, but it had also taught him what truly mattered. "Yes," she said. "For Lucas and Liam, yes." Months turned into years. The twins grew strong and healthy. They called Naomi Mama, and she never corrected them because in every way that mattered, she was. They called Adrian Papa, and he worked hard every day to deserve that title. The mansion filled with laughter, birthday parties, story times, chasing through hallways, drawing on the windows with washable markers, building blanket forts, all the normal, beautiful, messy things that make a house into a home. Adrian never remarried. He said he didn't need to. His family was complete. Sometimes, late at night, Naomi would stand in the nursery and watch the boys sleep. She would think about how close they had come to losing everything, how jealousy and lies had nearly destroyed 3 lives, how easy it is to make terrible mistakes when you're hurting. But she also thought about second chances, about forgiveness, about how love, real love, is stronger than any amount of money or pride or fear. The Cole mansion stood on the hill, its windows glowing warm and golden. Inside, a family lived, not perfect, but real, not bound by blood alone, but by choice and commitment and stubborn, enduring love. And in the end, that was all that mattered. If this story touched your heart, please share, and subscribe. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Where are you watching from? What did you think about Naomi's journey? Share your thoughts with us, because we truly love hearing from every single one of you. Thank you for being here.